defunding police is just another sort of thing. We don't know how exactly it's going to look and how widespread it'll be across the nation, but I suspect it's, like you say, it's going to be more than just Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me, as always, we got Matt Jones. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Todd, today?
I'm fantastic, man. It's beautiful. It's summer. We're loving it. The kids are finally doing sports and getting out there and seeing friends. It's so great. It was a long time for them not to be involved in anything. And although it was peaceful at times, we weren't running the kids from here to there to their different sports and activities. Boy, I definitely noticed a change in personality, especially for my little dude who's 7 years old and just loves people, loves people. And I really noticed a big change, and he was kind of just being a cranky kid, not just kind of really being a cranky kid. And I told my wife, I'm like, I wonder if it's just because he's not seeing people, he's not playing with friends, and this is just driving him crazy. And since this started, he's been super awesome, back to his normal funny crazy self. It just shows you how much this has effects on everybody in different different little ways. And it can have effects on people, and potentially, hopefully not potential long lasting negative effects, but we'll see. Hopefully not. But anyways, it's good. We're getting back out there, so that's awesome. But today's topic is actually talking about, we did get out there really a lot because of different reasons, and now we've got some issues coming up. So why don't you introduce what we're talking about today, and then we can go through that.
Yeah, Minneapolis recently announced that they are planning to defund the police. It's not an immediate thing, and there needs to be some more planning as to what exactly it would look like afterwards. If it would be sort of a mix of, fewer police, but more social worker type of people to respond to events or whatnot. And so we're going to be looking at how does defunding police, how would it impact real estate ownership?
Yep. Yeah, so obviously everybody knows what kind of went down over the last few weeks. Obviously George Floyd was what very much appears to be murdered by a police officer. He hasn't been charged yet, so but evidence looks pretty bad. And then followed by protests and followed by riots, and in some cases violent riots with people all over the country, quite frankly, and they're still going on. Seattle, they're going on very much so, and other states the riots are still happening. Here in Minneapolis, I think the worst that happened was yesterday. A statue got tipped over, but I don't think there's riots happening anymore. Either way, like you said, there's this call to defund the police. St. Paul, our sister city to Minneapolis, they have now called to defund the police. It hasn't gone to the Minneapolis level yet, but other cities are doing it as well. So it's not just a Minneapolis thing. Other cities are calling to defund the police. I think Minneapolis might be the most progressive on it so far, but I don't think it's going to be just a one city thing. I think as landlords, we have to pay attention to what is happening in our cities and cities that we're investing in, and what could potentially happen in the cities we're investing in, which is why it's really important in the first place to pay attention to what cities you are investing in and what kind of policies they like to put in place, and do those policies match to your investing strategy, whether they match to your political views and personal views is one thing, but do they match to your investing strategies is definitely another thing as well that we got to be looking for.
Yeah, and local taxes and regulations are always something you look for when deciding upon a market and how to maneuver through it. And then, defunding police is just another sort of thing. We don't know how exactly it's going to look and how widespread it'll be across the nation, but I suspect it's, like you say, it's going to be more than just Minneapolis and St. Paul. Other cities are going to have some level, I think. And how would that impact our real estate ownership? Are we going to have just complete chaos in the streets and not be able to evict our landlords when they're not paying and things? Or or perhaps it'd be better, because then you'll have social workers sort of type level of people who are responding to disputes amongst your tenants and things like that.
Yeah, it's hard to say whether it's going to be worse or better, but let's just look at a practical real estate level. What's going to happen, or what very likely would happen, is if, as this progresses along and the more serious it gets, investors that currently own properties are likely going to get fed up and sell their properties, which the more properties that come into the market, the larger discount there are, and the less people are going to, look, if I'm debating whether I'm going to buy in Minneapolis or I'm going to buy in some other city that isn't even thinking about this, am I going to be more attracted to Minneapolis or this other city? Probably more attracted to this other city, all things considered, right? Because I know, we know the certainty of the other city, right? It's not that Minneapolis necessarily, or a different city that's trying to defund the police, it's not necessarily that it's going to be a worse option. It's that we don't know. We don't have a clue. So I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see property values drop in cities like Minneapolis that are defunding the police. And the farther it progresses, the more serious it progresses, especially without answers and clarity, the more the properties are going to drop. Now, I'm not going to tell you they're going to drop like a rock, but the more they're going to drop, the more that people are going to go, I'm sick of this city, and they're going to sell. And the less people are going to jump in after it, because again, we're uncertain. And so you're going to see those values drop. Now, that's short term, right? And I would recommend to people not to be too knee jerk, right, on your reaction, but also consider the potential implications of defunding the police. We know that policing works, right? There might be issues within our police departments, where there might be issues within the police unions, right? There might be issues, but we know policing in general, as just a general rule, works, right? It's worked for a long time, and there's no area, there's no civilized nation that doesn't have policing. And so we know that works, but we don't know how defunding the police would work. We have a few examples on very small cities, but nothing in big, a city with 400 people in it. So
yeah, 400,000.
Sorry, 400,000.
And defunding doesn't necessarily mean disbanding
400 people.
And defunding is different than disbanding the police. I mean, disbanding is where you just get rid of them altogether, but defunding
but the city of
reduced.
Minneapolis, the city council is suggesting to totally wipe them out. Some people are. I think that would be very, very hard to push through. For one, the city has an ordinance that says that 0.0017% of the population, you take the population and you multiply by 0.001%, and that's the dollar amount that you have to fund in the police. Or no, sorry, that's the amount. Sorry, that's the amount of police officers you have to have. That's what it is. So the city has to have whatever that works out to be, like 700,000 police officers, or 700 police officers.
Yeah, and because it's in the city charter, that's going to make it a little more difficult. There's some legal barriers, but it's possible to overcome those. With if you vote with the wider populace or something. But
it's interesting, and you know what? Here's the thing. I don't want to become political with this whole thing, because I try not to be political on the show, and that's not my point. But I think it is an interesting discussion to have. I think we need to go about it wisely, because just the problem with the discussion is that police officers have a very tough job. And in my opinion, they're underpaid and they're probably undertrained, right? You wouldn't dare pay your surgeon or go, hey, that guy's I'm gonna pay you. We're gonna pay you $50,000 a year to go do surgeries, and we're only gonna send you to school for 12 months or whatever it is. So we wouldn't dare do that for our surgeons. I wouldn't trust. Would you trust somebody operating on your body who's only had 12 months of schooling and is only paid $50,000 a year?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? We expect our surgeons to be really dang good, right? And in turn, we're going to pay them a lot and they're going to go through a ton of training. We expect the same with our police officers. We expect them to be really good and make no mistakes, yet we're going to pay you very little and we're not going to provide you training. Something's wrong there, right? So there's a problem there, but it's also very interesting, in my opinion, to reform the police department and to provide different people working in different capacities, like the social workers working in some sort. Because really, do I want my police officers out there doing work that a social worker should really be doing, that's trained in that? Maybe the police officer isn't the best one to be dealing with an issue that a social worker truly could be dealing with. So I do think it's interesting. I think it's a discussion that's good to have. I want to, me personally, I know there's issues within some police departments, and there's not only 100% great people. Every police officer that I know, and I know a decent amount, are fantastic people, but obviously there's some bad people, right? And that's a problem. I mean, you need to try to eliminate that. One bad person makes everybody look bad, right? And so I understand that, but like I said, they got a tough job, and we want to be careful that we don't eliminate to where people even, who wants to become a police officer, right? Who wants to, if you can't find police officers, that becomes a problem too. So we got to do it in a smart way. And it'll be interesting to see what happens, how it comes out of this. I think a healthy dialogue is definitely good. To try to make positive changes, it's always good to make positive changes to something that should have positive changes happen to it. I think that's good. I think we need to do that with a lot of our systems, and quite frankly, a lot of our government systems. I think our education system needs to have some positive, healthy changes happen to it. I think a lot of our how we operate you think about our government, you think about policing, you think about teaching, you think about a lot of these kind of institutional things that our government controls, and they're archaic, right? They haven't changed with the times. They were set up they were set up centuries ago, and they haven't changed since. Well, why? Why aren't we changing them with everything else is changing? Why aren't they changing? So healthy discussions, I think, are important. Of course, that's the political side. I don't want to, I've probably said too much because I don't like getting political, but the real estate side I think it's definitely going to negatively affect real estate. Those cities that are defunding police, are talking about defunding police. I think in the short term, it's going to negatively affect the cities. I think in the long term, it's to be determined, TBD, because we don't know yet if it's going to actually make a positive impact or if it's going to make a negative impact. Of course, if crime goes up, if all of a sudden we've got huge crime spikes, well, for sure it's going to make a negative impact. But if we've got positive changes happening and we see crime stabilizing and going down, well, it's going to have a positive effect eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that there's a major reformation that needs to be done with policing as well as other government systems. Like you said, police, they just wear too many hats. We ask too much of them, and we don't give them enough support and training and pay. And so it would be good to have.
I cannot imagine being a police officer, dealing with some of the stuff they have to deal with. And yeah, you can go, well, yeah, but that guy should never have knelt on his neck and well, sure, I agree, but the amount of stress, the amount, like everything that goes into that job is, is something that I don't know if I could handle it. Like that's a tough job. And especially like where that officer was patrolling. I'm not trying to give him any excuses. Like what he did was murder for what we could see, but it's a tough area. It's a high stress area. And so, it's just like you said, maybe they shouldn't be doing every job we're trying to put at them. Maybe if they were focused on only, the things that police probably should focus on, maybe we would have better results.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you that it's kind of a wait and see thing. Maybe by having more social worker type of people address social work issues instead of police trying to, do it when they're not really set up for it, then maybe crime will go down. Maybe people will be safer. And then, initially the real estate will go down because of the uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen. But depending upon what we see, it could go up or if
it could go up, down, or
yeah.
You don't know. So there is that risk and uncertainty. And so I do understand what people are not liking. This real estate investors, business owners are going, this is crazy. I don't want to see this happening. And it's, I think business owners too, you're going to see some flight from Minneapolis as well. We're already seeing a couple that have announced they're not coming back and they're leaving. I would expect to see some more that are announcing that as well. I expect some of these small businesses that got destroyed probably won't go back into business. So it hurts, definitely hurts.
Yeah. At the same time, there might be opportunity there. If you're paying close attention to the market and to the crime, and if whatever news system we have, if it ends up being for the positive and things start to go up again, then if you're ready for it, you can take advantage of those opportunities and make some good money because things will be back on the rise again. But again, we don't know exactly what it is.
There's always opportunity. There's always opportunity in everything, and there's going to be opportunity that comes out of this. You have to position yourself the right way and understand what that opportunity looks like.
Exactly. All right.
Well, cool. I'm sorry for our listeners. I got a little more political than I like. I'm sorry for that. Hopefully you don't send me hate mail. I know everybody doesn't agree with what I said, and I try to, I'm trying not to play one side or the other. Honestly, I don't think that's my job personally. We all have our own biases. We all have our own opinions. I don't think my job is to play one side or the other. But there are real issues that are going on, and we all are aware of them. And, healthy dialogue is important.
Very good. All right. That's all I got.
Cool, man. Well, you have a fantastic rest of the day, man, and make every day a Saturday.
Thanks. You too.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.